Good morning. How is everybody?
Hey,
Well,
Margaret.
I'm here. Good morning.
Y'all
Yep.
sound like how I feel right now.
Bill's out at the Golden Gate again
Tired.
today.
It's a beautiful
Margaret's up
day.
late. Paul's eating food, dropping out of his mouth.
I'm in the office.
There's Patrick.
What is
Okay.
this? Oh, it's
What's that?
recording. No, this thing popped up on my Zoom thing saying a participant has asked you to start AI companion. What does that mean?
I don't know. Maybe Samantha has a sister.
Maybe.
It was mid-trans. Since
Okay.
English, yeah, since English is my second language, I was trying to have the transcript to read after this conversation. Oh, sorry, my camera.
Oh, oh, no worries. I'll start it. Hopefully it'll all work. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. It's a first.
Okay, cool.
All right.
All right. Well, the markets, yesterday we still remain range bound when you look at the major indices. We had ISM manufacturing yesterday and that fell uh, below expectations. So we're still in contraction. We're under 50 on that. Job openings and factory orders data today. So jolts, we'll see what happens there. It's been my contention that if we start to see unemployment rise, which we'll see the unemployment rate at the end of the week, then we start to see layoffs. I saw Microsoft has laid off more people, with AI. We could start seeing that affect the housing market more. And once the housing market goes, that could be the trigger. But again, that's all just speculation on my part. But I've been through this party before, and I think everything relies on people have jobs. They're still out spending, even out to the credit. If they don't have jobs, then mortgages don't get paid, and college tuitions don't get paid, and car payments don't get paid. So, we've all looked at the credit card delinquencies and defaults, and looked at the student loan defaults. So we know what's out there. And the market is not the economy. So we'll play the market because that's what we're here for. Um, Today, we have some earnings from CrowdStrike, Hewlett Packard, and Dollar General. The futures are down a little bit. Oil's up. And let's get rolling. I got a lot to talk about today, so I'm going to try to go through this pretty quick. Get this going. Put some charts up here. Okay, looking at the SPY, again, sideways, still have a gap down here, still above the 200, just rolling right along a sideways to a little bit down 9. We're going to open just a little bit lower today, as you can see, but again, nothing really exciting. The upper Bollinger Bands right along resistance. Nothing's really kicked this off. And we can go into the mags and see why. The Dow, again, still under the 200. It's been under that for a while, and 200 is right at resistance. So two big resistance levels on the Dow. Even though we were up yesterday, we still couldn't make it past. Going to open a little bit lower again, flat. Not much. We need some kind of catalyst to move this, whether it's a tweet or news or whatever. But we're starting to get some good reports this week. It's going to be mostly focused on jobs, and we'll see. Maybe that'll kick it one way or the other. And the Qs, again, the Qs below the resistance level, right above the 9. This just all looks pretty much the same. Starting to see a little bit of a roll, on the MACD, but just sideways from the last couple of weeks. Again, but we're over the 200, but we're just not going anywhere. We need a catalyst to kick this over. Bitcoin, it'll come up. So Bitcoin's come back up right to, again, to the resistance level where we've had it before. And we can see if we can get over it. We had all-time highs once we got over that, still under the 9. Looks like we're going to come to a cross at some point or a decision making. Still, the MACD doesn't look like it's curved back over or coming back up yet. But again, sideways, just like we're seeing in the other markets. Gold. Oops. Gold's been kind of sporadic as it is. You know, see it pops up and down, and you know we see gaps in gold quite a bit. Again, it popped up yesterday. Still under its resistance. Resistance has actually moved up on gold right now. Bollinger Band's moving up a little bit. It's above the 200. You know, trading wise, you know, you got your 9 as your support, and your resistance, and Bollinger Band is your resistance level. So you're into gold. You're seeing a little bit of positivity on the MACD, also on the stochastic and on the RSI. So you know, there's gold for you. Meta had some news. They announced yesterday they're fully automating their ad creation with AI. Okay, and that caused it to pop. Okay, so we were rolling along the 9, like we saw a lot of, you know, the Mag 7, but this one actually popped on that news. We're going to open right about where we closed yesterday, but Bollinger's up. Seeing a little bit of progress on the oscillators. Resistance up here at 703. And let me move the sell orders up, and we'll see where that's at. And sell orders are actually below, so you're getting close to sell orders. That's interesting when the sell orders are below the resistance line. So that's usually a pretty good level of resistance when the market says we're going to put some sells at that point. So just be careful if you're rolling into Meta. Palantir, again, sideways right along resistance. We're going to open right about where we closed. Candle of indecision yesterday. Still down on the MACD. Haven't, you know, confirmed enough cross on the MACD. Still sideways on Palantir. This, you know, we had some news that the federal government was using Palantir, popped it up just to resistance, and it really didn't do much. Tested it yesterday. It didn't go much further. We look at our momentum list this week. We had 3 of them of our momentums hit the intermediate resistance level, came on. CTVA resistance came on. So if you'd gotten in, you're right at resistance, and that's why, you know, I don't trade in these, because that comes on, stops your momentum. If you would have got in yesterday, here you'd be today. It doesn't. You know, when you get in on momentum stocks are solely based on following the momentum and chasing the momentum until there is none. And that's not my style, it's other people's style. Nothing wrong with it, but I would rather get in down at this level and ride it up. That's what I'm looking for, setups. So you see my under the 200 list or watch list, I'm looking for potential setups where we're going like this and starting to roll up, as opposed to finding it on, you know, momentum and trying to figure out where it's going to end. So we also had ICE was on the momentum list. That green line came on, stopped it also. Now it could still go up. We could still see, you know, some momentum up to the sell line and then back down. But again, it's a hard level to get by once you get to that point. We talked a little bit about with Payman yesterday on CVNA, and Payman was asking, well, where do you get in? And I said, well, I don't really trade these, but if I were to trade, and this one I like better than the momentums that are above the Bollinger Band, because at least we're trading between support and the Bollinger Band. Okay, and we have a good history of that. Okay, so I said yesterday, if I were to trade this, I would put in a buy limit right about down here where it opened up a couple of days ago, and we kept hitting this level. And that level was at 316.90 is where I would have put my buy limit. And we did come down to 316.41. So that would have hit that limit. It's above the 9, okay, a little bit. I have history. So that's why I would have put that there. It would have hit, and then we would have ended up at 331.44, hitting in at 316.90. So I always I call it bargain hunting. My mom wouldn't buy anything unless it was on sale. So I'm always looking for things on sale. So that's how I would have played this one had I got into it. And I want to show you a little more because Fire Duck asked about this. And I'm just going to go to my under 200 list. And here was Hershey. Okay. So Hershey, here's where we put it on the list, right here. So yesterday we opened up down and we wicked down. When I look at trying to put in a buy order, I try to go back a couple of days, and then I look at where support is. I go back a couple of days and I chose right here. This is where we closed 4 days ago. Okay. And that's where I would have put a buy order, or you could put it, right at the 9. Now it didn't hit the 9. Sometimes it'll come down, not hit it. Sometimes it comes down and it comes back up. But I put it here. And so you would have hit, at 158.23, and then it would have popped back up and closed at 161.45. So I'm looking for that bargain. I'm not, when these come on the list, I just don't buy it on the day that of the list. I would try to get closer to support, and that's what I say in my in my watch list, that buy closer to support and sell closer to resistance. I'm trying to play between the lines. I'm not trying for a home run. And so that's what have been Hershey. CHD was on the list. CHD came down. Where did I see it? On CHD, I probably wouldn't have had anything because I would have bought. I would have put it down here, so I wouldn't have hit on CHD basically. So that one wouldn't have hit for me yesterday. LW, again, this is on our under 200 watch list. LW, I would have went back and looked a couple days. These are pretty close, so I would have put it right here where we closed. Okay, you can see we opened up here and we closed down, but we wicked down and hit that. So we would hit at 54.24 and we closed at 54.84. So you're up 50 cents. But see, I don't just buy. I don't like buying on the Bollinger Band either. I like to buy lower, and if I don't hit, I don't hit. Okay, and you move on. Amgen. Here you would have probably put it right. Here you got the hard line of resistance at the 50. You could have put it right at the 50. It came down actually below the 50, but if you'd used just this support level at the 50, you would have gotten in at about 285.59, and you would have closed at 288.47. So when these are on the list, again, it was above the Bollinger Band. I don't want the Bollinger Band. I want to buy it below the Bollinger Band so I can get more upside potential on my trades. Let's look at Biogen, same thing. You would have put it right, around the support level on Biogen. Came down and actually went below, wick below it, closed up. Okay, so this would have been at 128.79, and it would have closed at 131.14 after it came down. So again, you don't always hit, but I go back and I look, and you can see even at the 9 here, we had some support and resistance right at that level. So that's where I try to go back and catch the best price. I don't try to buy it, right where I put on, when I put it on the list. So, this is the way that I look at it. You guys can look at it the way you want to, but try to get that balance. And you have variation every day. Remember, we opened lower yesterday and then we came back up. So we've got to catch that. And, that's based on just not price action, but it's based on Bollinger Bands. It's based on moving averages, and it's based on the oscillator. So you use them. It's like a gauge on an airplane. You use all your gauges to fly your plane. You just don't use one gauge. This gauge may be flashing red, but all the others are green. So you have to make a decision. Is that gauge telling me the truth or not? And so that's how I kind of look at buying these stocks. When you look at other things we looked at, United Health. I was looking at United Health. United Health wicked up pretty well. It went up to 313.55, but came back and closed at 304. So we're just barely above the 9. I'm still watching this. It's not anything I'd buy yet, but we're seeing a crossover on the MACD. Okay, so we're getting to that point where we might start seeing it swing back up, and we're seeing this a lot in the healthcare stocks. Lilly closed above the 9. Okay, but you got your Bollingers just shooting down here and shooting up. So if they start to converge, you're going to see sideways patterns. So just don't think that this is going to go to the moon with these Bollinger Bands unless we have some kind of news or a catalyst to make that move. J&J, we're seeing J&J across the 9 and even above the 50. Okay, here I like the Bollinger Bands better. They're not shooting down towards our price. They actually kind of moving up to sideways a little bit, but you got resistance here at the 50, support at, or 50 at the 200, support at the 50, but you got nice oscillators. So we're starting to see some movement in the healthcare stocks, even PFE, Pfizer. You know, we have a death cross of the, or actually a golden cross of the 9 over the 50. But again, these Bollinger Bands tell me, okay, we're probably going to be going sideways. So I'm not going to get much lift on that unless some kind of news comes out on that. Some of them on the watch list, you know, that's above the 200. AON took off. It finally closed above the 200 yesterday. We've got above the 50. We're above the 200. We've got nice oscillators. I was waiting for this to, you know, clear the 200. It's above the upper Bollinger Band, though. So, you know, I'd go back if I was going to get into this, you know, and maybe put buy in, you know, a little above the 50 level here if I was going to buy into this and see if I can catch it coming back down. I might not catch it, but again, I want to buy on sale. I don't want to buy it full price. WTW, same thing, above the 9, above the 200. Just got above the 50, following this Bollinger Band. I don't mind them on the inside of the Bollinger Bands. Again, maybe put it right at this level where we opened, because you can see where we closed. It's pretty close, and maybe you can catch, you know, catch a bid coming down and then catch it back up. That's how I would do it. Not financial advice, but that's how it sets up my trading plan. Bro, here's another one above the 200, just crossed above the 9, right along the Bollinger Band. Again, look how it's come down to the 9 up. You know, try to put one in if you're going to. I like these Bollinger Bands separating. I like the oscillators. Okay. Again, I'd want to catch it. You look back here, or do you put it back here? So, you know, somewhere in here, you might want to, you know, put in a buy limit, see if you can catch it. Make sure you check the news and make sure there's no earnings or dividends, because that'll affect your price action on the day. You know, before you do that, you got to go through your set of checklists when you decide to buy. Sorry, I just wanted to show you there's quite a few. Oracle, another one. It's over the 20, over the 200, and it's been able to hold it. Okay, so you got support at the 200. You got resistance up. Sell orders about 170. You closed at 166, so you got $3 and change on the upside. Your downside is back down to the 200. We've hit it now 4 times basically. So Oracle above the 200. Don't have that much of a, you know, a zoom on the MACD. It's still okay, but again, Oracle meets majority of the trading guidelines, and you just need to determine, you know, where would you want to try to buy. You've got a lot of levels right here you could put in, see if you can catch it, and then maybe catch it right up and get a few more points off that, other than the three bucks and change that you would get right there. Okay, that's about all I have. So that was quite a bit actually. So hopefully that helps out. Fire Deck was asking about buy, you know, how I put buys in. I just wanted to reiterate that again, you know, that I don't, when we put it on the list, it's not at that price. It's just a setup, and that's the price where I see the setup, and you try to get a better price. So back to you, Trent.
I think Julian had a question probably about
Oh,
what
Julian, go
you were
ahead,
talking about.
please.
Yes. I was checking your chart, and I want to see, for example, which is your strategy. For example, if we see MBTS or Applied Digital that they have a catalyst the last week, and Applied Digital has another catalyst yesterday. So, which your strategy to get another entry point? So, since they are above the upper Bollinger bar, so which is your strategy to try to see in the next weeks to get an entry point, an entry price?
Like which stock are we talking? Do you have a specific stock you're talking about?
Yes, it's for example MBTS or Applied Digital.
Okay, let me see. Oh, well,
Yeah,
see,
yeah,
yeah,
you
let me
have to
put it
share.
up for you.
We can,
Um,
Thank you.
so on this one, this is applied. Applied already came up and hit my resistance level. So doesn't interest me at all. So again, I wouldn't have been in this because it dropped below the 200. So something happened on applied. I don't know what it is. You probably do, Julian.
Yeah, they sign a revenue agreement with Core Wave.
Right.
for seven thousand million dollars, something like that.
Yeah. So is this something that you would looking at this chart just from a technical point of view, is this where you would put in a buy?
No, no, no. I mean, for example, in the coming weeks, because we know that that's going to be a pullback. So
Right.
which your yeah, I wanna see which is your strategy to try to analyze which could be a good entry price
Well, I
for the
think
next. Mhm.
I think that since it hit my intermediate resistance level, I'm pretty much done on this one unless this thing moves. Uh, this this could pop above this, and keep momentum going. It could. This is a huge candle, and you've got a nice big gap that will probably be filled at some point. This is not something that would meet the requirements of my trading plan, Julian. This will eventually come back inside the Bollinger Band, but I don't know what it's going to open at today. Does Trent? Do you know? Anyone have where it's going to open today? Applied.
Give me a second.
I
Okay.
think 1050, I think so.
1050. Okay,
I
but you
have
can see.
1069 right now.
Okay, so yesterday we wicked up to 1054 and then came back down. So I don't try to trade at the open because there's just too much volume and too much chaos at open, and I let it come back in. But I'm above the Bollinger Band. I'm not interested in that at all for me. Okay, uh, the way I look at this would be chasing it. I don't chase stocks. Okay, I try to find them back in this area and do the nice ride up on a swing. Now, if I'd have got in, back here when it went above the 9, it would have been on the under 200 list. Come up, I might have gotten out at the 50, at that point and taken that profit. If I said no, I'm still within the support and resistance, come up, I certainly would have probably got out at the 200, okay, because it was having trouble at the 200. And it did pop up, came back down. Your news came out and really zoomed it. But I think for me, the trade is over on this. This is not
Mark,
something I would be interested in at this
Mark,
point.
if you go back a year, maybe two, yeah, a year, you're gonna see where it's now hitting where it's been before. So
And
back
there's your resistance.
December, again in February. So it's coming right back up against resistance again.
And this line tells you that.
Yeah. And so from my perspective, well, like Mark said, that's a big gap up. That's a 1 day event. It's outside of Bollinger Bands. Is there a better opportunity possibly down, right around maybe 750, 770 range where it would fill that gap for the most part, and then be able to build off that level from there. Um, but yeah, that 1 day event is, and what's materialized out of that event financially for that company today?
I call
Not
I call
much.
that a
It's
I
just
call
a
that a
headline.
yeah, an unknown market condition that if you were in it, you're like, woohoo. If I was in that, Julian, let's say I had it back here, or bought it, and I was in it, and it went up and did this, I would certainly take a portion of it off the table for me personally, because this is like hitting a home run for me on a price, especially when you go back and you look at what Trent was saying. If you right now you are anything that's under this line, okay, you've been out of the money for a long time, except for here and here if you're under. And now look at it, okay. So you've come back up to where the highs have been over the last year, and it could go higher. But man, if I was in that, I'd be a happy guy if I was bought it anywhere down in here.
And Mark,
That's a good
or
question. I'm
Trent.
not sure. I'm not sure I answered your question to your
Yeah, 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 yeah.
satisfaction.
No, no. I mean, my question was because I want to understand, for example, because now I know that we have to wait until the pullback is going to be in between 7 or 8 US dollar, and but after that, so we have to follow up the catalyst to see how it's going during the next week, next month, or next year maybe, and to check if could be a a new home run.
You think about it, it's like that event is a fundamental building event. That's more cash flow, more revenue to apply digital. So today it's a headline, it's a inked, it's a pen on paper event. Now let's see how that transpires into the fundamental basis, of, apply digital. How does it build its cash flow, its free cash flow, its earnings per share growth, its margins? Though, and so once you start to see that, that was a great, if it does contribute to that, and you do see the fundamentals get stronger, then that company is just getting stronger. But today it's just, we struck a deal, we put, pen on paper. Now let's see how it really how it really works out. It may be a bad deal. Who
It's
knows?
it's interesting, Trent and Julie, when you look at this, when we've had these green spikes up like that, look what happens the next day. Green spike up, next day, up, next day, up, next day. We'll see what
It'd
happens
be
today.
it'd
Yeah.
be interesting to go back to those times where it spiked up like that, and the next day, what drove that spike? Was it a news event? Was it a earnings report? What was it
It
that
wasn't
made
earnings
those
because
mass?
earnings are back here. Yeah, we can see
Okay, so
earnings. Yeah.
so what was that event? And what you can potentially will find is it was an event like yesterday, pen to paper, ink to deal kind of deal, and that would give you a better insight to how the market interprets this company. Um, so something to consider, because those big wicks like that, that's not just, because everybody got excited one day about it.
Well, you see these, and it got someone chased, and then and then the bears came in and or the institutions and knocked them back down and took their money away from them, basically.
Yeah.
I just find it interesting how it went right to the, it went up above and then closed right back down on resistance, and it can it pop above resistance? Sure. Let's see where the next level of sell orders are since we've kind of crossed that. I'm going to go medium. Okay, so 1102. I'm going to go loose and 1225. You can see 1225 is based on this wick up here. Someone's looking at the chart and say, okay, I'm gonna put it up there in case I get it. Maybe I've sold half my position. I'm gonna sell the other half there, see if I can get see someone to chase it up that high. So it'll be interesting. It's fun to look at the charts, kind of figure out the plan, and what's going to happen, Julian.
Yeah.
Thing is,
That was a very good question. Thank you for that question.
Thank you. Thank
yeah.
you so much.
Um, so I was thinking about the sun today as I walked out this morning, and I thought, wow, without the sun, what would happen? Then we would just turn into one big iceberg, freeze to death, and be like stuck in this like state, because it would happen fast, right? And then I started bringing that, this is how my mind works. It's like, okay, what's the sun today in the world that we live in today? What's the version of the sun that we live in today? And you look at how everything is evolving technology wise, how we're changing how our behavior, how we transact payments, how we get data, how we do business, and all that. And I'm like, who is at the center of that universe? And what company has really evolved a lot of that? And what company is being, constantly asked to produce a bigger result, more sun, more brightness, more energy? And I came to this conclusion, and it was triggered by a guy on X. It's a research firm, Koifin, and it was this cash flow analysis between Nvidia and the other Mag 7 stocks. And it got me to thinking about how everybody, in a sense, is dependent right now, it can change, on Nvidia. They're dependent on the chips. They're dependent on the speed of the chips. They're dependent on the flexibility of the chips, the integration element of the chips. And so you're looking at all these other companies and how prior to trying to go make their own, like Amazon or Google, they're all looking at NVIDIA as the source to build their businesses bigger and faster and more efficiently. And it got me to thinking, like what other companies in history have been at the center of that universe? And I really couldn't really come up with much because it was early in the morning and I haven't had a second cup of coffee yet. But it got me to thinking, where is the potential of NVIDIA going price-wise as a stock, even though, earnings were not all that great when you look at it quarterly, year over year, and you look at, margins are getting squeezed a little bit and that kind of thing. And a lot of this could be contributed to the whole tariff thing and the $4.85 billion they had charged back on their earnings this time or last quarter. But this is a weekly chart of NVIDIA. And I look at it like similar to what we were just looking at with Applied Digital. And we've been here before. We've been here back in June of 424. We've been back through, from what is that, October of 24 up until February of this year. And now we're back here, back at this level. And I'm looking at this going, as this technology, AI, artificial intelligence, I don't know, but I'm using a lot more of it. I'm yesterday got into Claude and I said, here, take Kerry's tell sheet and cheat sheet, and I want to create a live, dynamic, version of this that I can put on the website so I don't have to link the Google Sheets to it, which is a delayed and it's causing some issues and that kind of thing. And I posted it in and I told them what I wanted to do, and it came back with this information. And now I'm working to make it apply it. But I was like looking at that going, who's processing that? Who's creating the capability of making this happen? And I've come to this conclusion, and it's my opinion only, but NVIDIA at this point is the center of the technology universe. And that can change. We can have a new sun at some point, but likely not. But right now, in the world we're in, NVIDIA is really at the center of how fast we go and how fast we evolve because they have the energy source that enables all these other companies to do these things. And so right now, today, NVIDIA is going to open up roughly almost $1 higher than it closed out yesterday. And I'm looking at it going, okay, is 150 the next resistance level? And then after that, where do we go? And what is that catalyst that's going to cause it to go to 200 this year? And could it be more, demand on their product source? Is it a deal with China that opens the door for NVIDIA to again start selling all their products to China? It could be many things, but from my perspective, the fundamental side of it, I look at it and I go, this is my center of the universe when it comes to AI technology and development. It is our sun right now. Um, and it looks to me as this point, it could be setting up for something higher as long as there's that catalyst to push it higher. So I've been on NVIDIA for quite a while. It's all I talk about on our TikTok page, primarily. But it seems to me more and more as I'm looking at this, NVIDIA could be that center point that you could look at NVIDIA and see what they're doing, and that can tell you what Applied Digital is going to do, and what CoreWeave's going to do, and what all these other companies are going to do, because they're all so dependent on what NVIDIA does and what they produce. Um, I don't know, just my editorial commentary about where we are at. And I think with volatility being suppressed right now, with more of a bullish environment, this could be a setup for a breakout in particular NVIDIA at this point. So
So
that's
if
my editorial today.
I lost you, I hate to ask this, but I lost you as soon as you said that you're wondering what the catalyst is going to be. to push Nvidia up to 200. And I was so excited that you're going to give the great wisdom I've been looking for. So did I miss it?
I missed it.
Oh, you literally missed out. No, I honestly, you think about what is it, what brought it down?
Yeah.
It was Liberation Day. It was tariffs, right? It was, hey, you can't sell your stuff to China anymore. And I look at
And
this and I
competition
go,
too.
yeah,
Competition.
is there?
Well, in China, when they came out with DeepSeek or whatever, that kind of
Yeah,
knocked it.
but they're using NVIDIA chips.
But
That's
yeah,
competition. That's competition to ChatGPT, to
but they're using
Anthropic.
but those chips got taken away. They shouldn't have been using them, right?
They should have been, but then my question is the catalyst for 200 on NVIDIA that deal that could be worked out with China? Is that where you get that bump, that push through 150, that resistance level from a technical standpoint? And more I think about NVIDIA, like who is in competition, who's going to knock them off their throne right now? And in the short term, AMD's not it, Intel's not it. Um, is Amazon got a product that's going to knock them off? Not yet. Google, no. So it's sort of that right now, and this all changes because technology rapidly changes every day. But right now, it seems that NVIDIA is that center of our universe when it comes to all this. And if there is a deal with China that allows NVIDIA to sell this product and their products to China, freer, like they were at one point, one, it suppresses China's development of a comparable product, um, but also it grows NVIDIA's business overall. But it's something that, this whole waking up at 4:30 in the morning thing and watching the sunrise really got me to thinking, where are we at with this whole AI thing? And what's going to hold it back, but also what's going to propel it? And I think a lot of it sits around energy, in this case, NVIDIA's development and regulation. And I think that's what, once we see some of those things loosen up, we could, or be more, what it Meta signed a deal with, who is it, the nuclear power plant management company today. I think it was in the headlines.
Constellation Energy.
Yeah. So there's energy
Mhm.
source, right? So now Meta is like, okay, I have energy. I can produce more. I can process more. Who am I going to get my chips from? NVIDIA.
Just kind of going back, we just talked about applied digital. You can see, we're coming right back up to where we were before, just on NVIDIA.
Yeah,
Right here,
absolutely.
we hit back in June of 2024, and then we played over this line a little bit, but we're coming back up. What is that catalyst is a good question.
Yeah. And I think there will be something. There will be something. Um, but I think from the downside risk from it perspective, on a longer term perspective, the idea that AMD would knock them off their throne, I don't think so. Intel, definitely not. So there's, I think, more upside potential than downside when it comes to this company. So, any thoughts,
Well,
ideas?
with NVIDIA, if you look at the PE ratio or the PEG ratio, I mean, it's amazing for a company of that size. And when you compare that to a company like Palantir that has a PE ratio of like, I think it's like 600. I want to say NVIDIA's PE ratio is probably 35, maybe even 40 at this point. But, and I know that's on the high side. I know it's a premium, but that's that's wild to me. The PEG being like, I think the PEG is 1.0 right now, which to me is very cheap, especially when you compare that to a lot of the competitors, and it's the leading company. So I don't know what's wrong in that picture, other than the fact that it's hard to see Nvidia going up anytime soon until a China deal's made.
Yeah, I think when you look at it from a price to earnings ratio kind of thing, it is a lot cheaper. And I also look at it and go, Palantir's dependent on NVIDIA, in some form or fashion, because they're a software company and they have to have processing power to do their product, create their product and to implement their product. So it all comes back to where's the foundation? Who's the foundation? Who's the center of the universe?
I thought it was Kerry.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Moving on. Patrick, what's going on in Europe? Anything?
Yes, Babcock International. It's a British firm. It's committed to building 12 new attack submarines, and the stock went up 6% yesterday, and it's up 8% today. And another company, BAE Systems, is another beneficiary of the attack submarines. BAE Systems.
What's the symbol on that?
BAE.
What was the first one?
BAB. B
Oh,
for
so they're
for Apple, B for Benny.
BAB.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get those because those are British companies. They're not on our exchanges. I think
What is
guys,
it?
the guys,
Bangkok?
Babcock.
BAB. Babcock
Here,
International.
Yeah, I'll show you.
In the US, it's in Invesco Municipal Bond ETF.
Here it is. So this is on the British exchange. Is that what you're seeing, Patrick, on yours?
That's it there. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's had a hell of a run. Here we go.
So Mike was on too. I don't know if Mike had anything. Mike, you around or you gonna be silent today? I see him there.
Hey, before I go, because I got to get off in a second. Look at the stock Credo, CRDO. I've been in this for a long time, and in fact, I've had about 1/10 of my portfolio in CRDO, and so it got some good news It got some good news last night, and I think when the market opens, it looks like looks like it's going to open at around $71 per share. Which I think that's a 15% increase. So today's
it's right now trading at 72.94.
Even better.
A couple more bucks.
Yeah, today's a happy day.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Buddy.
What did they do?
Good to be in it. Looks like they had earnings. Looked like they had earnings yesterday.
So they have a lot to do with just supporting all the infrastructure from communications, Ethernet. I don't understand how all that works, but they're just part of the putting together. So anytime any of these major facilities are being built, they're a big player in that. That's about it. They've got huge contracts with I think like 20 blue chip companies. One of those being Microsoft. So.
So Phil, I just want to ask,
benefit quite a bit from all they have.
Are you going to take any profit, or are you going to let it ride?
Okay, so that's the question. What I'm doing, what I did, I was waiting for market to hit so I could see it, on my account. I was going to put a stop loss about 1% less than where it is. So instead of me like getting out myself, I'll make the market get me out if it's going to get out, because I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it was at $80. I want to say it was like February. So
January 22nd right here. Yeah.
So
you're going to get punked out pretty quick with a 1%.
Say again?
You're going to get punked out with a 1% very quick.
So any suggestions?
Well, I think I look at the chart and I said, yeah, you've got some history above. I got resistance right at 71.90. You're going to open above that.
Should I take profits right away?
A lot of times you see that come back down to that resistance, but I'm not familiar with the company or what they came out with. But it never hurts, to take off some profits, and I don't know what your cost basis is, but you can take off what you put into it and let the rest run. That's a strategy some people use, take your money back and let the market, play with the house money,
I
you know,
think you look at it's gapped a handful of times. So back from
here, right here.
December 2nd to December 3rd, gapped down from January 24th to January 27th. But those gaps always get filled. So I don't think this is any different in that gap will be filled from just say $65 to where it opens. At some point, that's going to get filled. But a better opportunity possibly be depending on how this company grows and over time would be a better time, take profits and then come back for support, see if support develops around $65 or so, and then you enter back into a dollar cost back into it,
Okay.
possibly.
I think I'm actually going to take that approach. I was thinking that earlier. I was kind of going back and forth in my mind. Do I wait, just sit tight and just let it hit 80, even if it's 3 months from now, or do I take profits? Because I can't imagine that not coming down after bumping up so high this morning.
Yeah.
So, but I think I'm going to do that.
Yeah, what's the probability of hitting 80, I guess is the question. When I look at the chart, one, two times it's hit 80 for 4 days.
They, they also
It's not impossible.
They also announced yesterday at 8 o'clock p.m. that their expectations over the next year are to bring in 85% more in revenue over the next year, which is pretty amazing. And every quarter they nail, they go above and beyond, kind of like NVIDIA has. They go above and beyond, what the expectations are. So they're nailing their numbers. They get strong buys from Wall Street, and of course, I use Seeking Alpha, and they get the strong pick from that. But their PE ratio, their PEG is unbelievably awesome. The PE is pretty good. I mean, it's not NVIDIA good, but actually it is. It's about the same as NVIDIA. So. But I'm gonna do what you said, because I was thinking that already is take profits, wait for it to come back down to that $65 range maybe, and try to ride it again.
I was looking
Well,
at the stops. There's a stop at 74.74 right here. Okay, that's where some stops are, and then the next level of stops is 80.74. So people are thinking the same thing as you, but those are the two levels of stops above you.
And you look at around 65, you look at go across the board, that's been a resistance, support level over since back in December. So it could be a good entry point again around 65.
I'll put it up here.
Love it. Hey, thank you guys. I got to get going. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you. Bye.
Well, good luck on your decision, and nice job. You get a home run today.
Yes, sir.
Take care.
By the way,
All right.
Awesome.
See you guys. Bye.
Mark or Trent or whatever. In this case, for example, if for example, if you get this stock, I don't know, in 65, and today you have a home run, which is a strategy to put a trailing stop? I was using ATR indicator, and I was, researching with Copilot to see which is the formula to try to put a trailing stop. I don't know which is the way that you use that tool.
I think the ATR gives you the standard deviation range of what that stock is doing at that particular period of time. So that gives you an idea of, let's say it has, take today out of the picture here. Say it has I don't know, hypothetically a 3% price movement on average. Um, you would, if you didn't want to get stopped out at 3%, you would set your stop at say 5%, right? And so they give you a little bit more breathing room. I think NVIDIA's ATR is probably right around 3% or so. So you can, anticipate you don't want to be stopped out in a video. You're more of a long-term investor, but you also don't want to get annihilated on a, say, a 10% move down or something. You would put that trailing stop, a couple, 100 basis points below the ATR, and then just adjust your trailing stops, based on a period of time.
Okay,
But
thank you.
That's my thinking.
yeah, I just want to get back to Babcock International. I gave the incorrect ticker. For the US, it's BCKIF. B for Ben, C for Charlie, K for Kiss, I for India, F for Freddie.
Yeah, crazy low volume on that thing, but so they got a big order for submarines. This
Yeah.
particular.
It's gone up 9%.
I guess you gotta decide if you're gonna chase news now, and if it's already built into the price of the stock, and how high is it gonna go? That's what I always think about when I don't chase these things. It's just not, my money's too valuable to me to chase them. For me, it's gambling my money. So
Yeah.
I would rather stick to my trading plan, but that's me. Okay. I have a low risk tolerance.
Thanks for the heads up, Patrick.
It's all right.
Thanks for the heads up. I mean, good information, man.
Okay. I didn't hear Mike talk. The mic didn't come in, so he's either having coffee or rolled back over and went to sleep. Margaret, what do you got? Anything?
So I
You're
have
on
a
mute.
question. Anybody in the Rolls Royce one, and because you can't put any limits or stops or anything, maybe, Paul, are you in this? What is your exit strategy? I'm up and I'm just not sure when to jump out.
I already sold mine, but what is the ticker?
I'm in RYCEY.
RYCEY. Yeah, it was a good run. I remember I made good money on it. Let's see.
Well, I'm up and I'm just like ready to pull the trigger and jump.
I don't like
Oh,
it.
I would hold it personally.
Would you?
I would.
It'll
you get-
open at 12.19
I-
today.
Yeah, it's going to go up even further now because they've got orders from the Korean Navy and another navy to build naval engines. So I would imagine the stock is going to soar even more.
And how much of that
Well,
is emotion and how much of that is reality? That's what I'd have to say. So the
If
way I
you
look at
go-
it, Margaret, you're still above, I don't
Right.
know where you're at. I don't know where you're at, Margaret, as far as a cost basis, but you have support at the 9 here. So, if it's going to blow out on the bottom side, that's where you put a stop.
You
But you
can't
can't put it. So
you
you're going to
can't-
have to you're going to have to watch it and just
Mhm.
manually do it.
Hey,
It's a
Mark,
fun place
let
to
me
be.
let me put this chart up real quick.
Well, he's doing that. This thing's been up 9 weeks in a row.
This is a weekly chart, Margaret, going back all the way back. Look at July 2007. Became resistance, became support.
Wow.
February 2012 to August 5th, 2015, then became resistance again from July 2017 to May of 2019. You're back to where you were in May of 19. So the trick is, does this resistance go from resistance to support? And I think that would be part of that
Yeah, I
thinking.
see what you're
I look
talking
at those. I look at those peaks, Margaret, and then I look at how fast it falls after the peak.
Quickly.
Just as an observation.
Yes. No, I agree completely. I might
So-
get it
And
now.
I think this is part of that process of, like Philip was asking about, and we talked about applied digital. Take your focus off not just the weekly, the next 12 days or like today's chart. Go back in history and look at how the market has interpreted that.
Well,
And this
if you
is
go back
simply a
to-
weekly chart.
Go back to I don't know, what is this, like something in 20, and the Bollinger Bands were going out, and then suddenly it just rocketed downward.
Yep.
Wow.
And
Interesting.
that was COVID.
Oh, yeah. Huh. Interesting.
I'm gonna get out soon.
Well, yeah, always protect your profits, don't get too greedy.
Yeah.
Are you
The
getting out because
unfortunate
you're
part is
scared?
you can't.
Well, Paul, you got out.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry I did, but I got out based on 4 days. I see 4 days of sideways action, but now it's back up again. I see consolidation, but the space is good, right? We're in a time of, this is the defensive stock. They make jet engines or for the defense
Rolls
department.
Royce, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's a good place to be, the sector. That's,
Yeah, and the Russians need a lot more engines now, from what I hear.
oh boy, and that attack yesterday on Ukraine and Russia.
Sunday,
Oh yeah, oh, that's what you're saying. Yeah, good,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Okay, well, Margaret, good
We're
luck
gonna
with
wrap.
that. We're just trying to take profit though, there's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
I like that. I like the singles and doubles. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good for you. And I
And
know you're doing really well.
You're up pre-market, so
Thank
it's
you,
at
Yeah.
Patrick.
12.19 right now.
All right.
That's a Patrick, thank you.
All
Because
right.
he's the one who brought it.
Okay.
I deserve at least 5% commission on that.
Yeah, your check's in the mail,
Good.
sir.
You need to raise that commission rate, dude.
Yeah,
I've been thinking about that.
All
That was a
right.
good
On
one,
Rolls-Royce,
honestly.
they've got a subscription model on servicing all those engines. So there's a big revenue stream that's recurring. It's not just the sale.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely,
That's a
definitely.
good point. Yeah,
Okay,
you may. All right. We'll see you all tomorrow. Hopefully everybody got the right link to the call. It will stay this link for a little while.
we must
And
have.
yes, yesterday was a bit of a scramble,
Buster.
but
Nothing, go ahead.
yeah. But anyways, you all have a great day. Be safe out there, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, guys.
Right.
You.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Take care. Live loud.
Goodbye, everybody.